Well, thank you very much, Richard. That was very kind, and it's wonderful to be with the manufacturers and exporters. You guys are great. You're the lifeblood of our country, of our economy, and I want to give support to Ian Black for the great work he's doing. We need great trade ministers and industry ministers, and he sounds like he is one. So, Ian, keep up the good work. David Fung, you've been a great supporter. You're the chair of the national organization, and Peter Jeffries. He and I have gone through some ups and downs together over the years, and it's nice to see you back on the up here, Peter. But, Richard described my career, and it's been quite a checkered path, you must admit, a checkered career and a winding, crooked path. But the one fundamental core of what I've been doing for 40 years. Gee, I can't believe it when I say that. It really has been 40 years since the early 1970s, is I've been involved in trade, international trade. When I was a young PhD student at Queen's and the University of Alberta, I was deeply into trade and got involved in the works of another Canadian Nobel laureate in economics by the name of Robert Mundell. And Mundell wrote some of the seminal books and articles on what everybody now talks about as the small open economy. Well, what's the small open economy? Well, in simple terms, the small open economy talks about economies where, like British Columbia, like Canada, we cannot possibly make a prosperous living selling just to each other. And that's a really very fundamental point, and it's lost on so many people that for Canada, we're a small economy. You can't achieve efficiency. You can't achieve global competitiveness if all we're doing is selling to another 4 million British Columbians or another 33 million Canadians. You need access to the big markets. You know, you might think that's kind of trivial, but that is not a true statement if you go to the United States, or if you go to China, or you go to India, or you go to the European Union. They could get by reasonably well, not as well as with trade, but they could get by reasonably well selling to each other. And so trade has been fundamental to everything that I've done in graduate school, and then when I joined the public service in BC, I was deeply into economic strategy documents that would go to cabinet and then go into some dusty shelf and never be heard from again. But it was part of my lifeblood. And when I left public service, I went to the BC Trade Development Corporation, which, as many of you will remember, did a lot of Ian's job back in the 1980s and 90s. So I was the head of that for a very short period of time, and then I went to the Airport Authority, and again trade was central to what we were doing at the airport, because not only is the airport a conduit for trade and attracts air services to Vancouver and British Columbia, but we actually created corporate vehicles to go out in the global marketplace and sell the expertise that we developed building and operating YVR. And then from there to Canfor, and I see Canfor was one of last year's winners of the Export Award, and Canfor was a real leader in building trade relationships. We built, and that's probably why Don Kane got an award last year, we were one of the first in the commodity lumber business to build a supply chain management relationship with the Home Depots and the Lowe's, and to start to build direct value chain management relationships with the end use retailer. And we were involved in joint ventures internationally with OG Paper, producing pulp and newsprint. And Canfor was one of the early leaders in the China market. And now I suspect they are the largest Canadian, if not the largest in North America, exporter of wood products into China. And then I got my opportunity to serve in the Government of Canada, and as Minister of Industry, and then Trade, then Foreign Affairs. It was all about trade, it was all about trade agreements, and it was all about helping the Government of Canada and the Public Service of Canada, people like EDC and the people in DFATE, to start to evolve their thinking about trade, because trade has evolved. Gone are the days where we can sit here, produce stuff, and sell it somewhere else, and that's all you have to do. We are into a world of a globalized economic system. We are into a world where you have to be involved, not just here selling abroad. You've got to have a footprint in the markets you want to be involved with. You've got to have access to the 98% of the innovations and patents that aren't developed here in Canada. You've got to have air services. You've got to have an ability to efficiently manage, with roots in Canada, globally efficient trading systems. And that's what you guys are doing. That's what Canada's doing. That's where Ian is taking us. Stock Day is aggressively working on a lot of the files that I was involved in. And as a country, trade is going to be our lifeblood. It's going to be our kids and our grandkids' lifeblood. And if you really like your health care, you better have a good trading performance, because you can't afford it without it. Thank you very much.